I went in and carried my daughter's body out. The little bit I saw that nobody else saw, I won't talk about.
For 8-year-old Leila Fowler, staying at home while her parents went to a sports game would turn fatal. Layla's parents never imagined her own brother Isiah could harm her in such a gruesome way. It was shocking to everyone who knew the family. But is her brother truly guilty of murder? The latest updates on the case paint a much murkier picture. This is the full story of Leila Fowler. Today's case takes place in Valley Springs, California. It's a small 3,000 people place known for its low crime rate, perfect for young families. In 2013, this was the home of 8-year-old Leila Fowler, her dad Barney, her stepmom Crystal, and several siblings. Everyone knew them as the loud, happy family next door. But on April 27, 2013, the tight-knit Valley Springs community was left in utter shock. That day, the family was supposed to go watch a small league baseball game. But as Barney and Crystal were getting ready to leave, little Layla told them she didn't really want to go. She would much rather stay at home. So they woke their 12-year-old son Isiah and told him to watch over his little sister until they got back from the game. A few hours later, a distraught Barney called 911.
The deputies are telling us what they're doing right now to catch the killer.
Victim 8-year-old Leila Fowler held hands, leaning on each other for support. Sheriff of Calaveras County made a promise.
We will not rest until we capture the responsible person.
That day, Barney had come home to find his daughter lying dead in a pool of blood with over 20 stab wounds. She'd been killed in a frenzied attack.
I went in and carried my daughter's body out. I was gonna take her to the hospital because I felt she's still alive.
When the police arrived at the house, the whole family was there. But Barney was quick to tell them his son, 12-year-old Isiah, was the only one at home with Layla at the time of her murder.
I turned Isiah in. Most people don't know that. That was hard enough.
Barney had no idea what had happened, but he knew his son had to be grilled by the police for the truth. Isiah told the cops the following story. While his parents were at the small league game, his sister was in her room, sleeping on the top bunk bed. He was in his bathroom, washing his hands when he heard a voice say, "Hey, I know you're in there." Seconds later, he heard Layla scream. Isiah quickly got out of the bathroom, only to see a male figure running out the back door. He said he was tall, white or Hispanic man with long gray hair. After the man left, Isiah ran into his sister's bedroom, finding her lifeless body on the floor. The sight was so gruesome, he didn't even attempt to resuscitate her. He just left the room in shock and fear. Isiah called his father and told him to hurry back home. So Barney and Crystal drove back as fast as they could, and Barney was the one who checked on Layla and carried her lifeless body out of the house. Blood was still seeping out of her chest. Layla was pronounced dead an hour later at the Mark Twain Hospital in San Andres. The detectives concluded that this was not a random attack. They proceeded to check every single house in the area, going through attics and storages and checking any registered sex offenders in Calaveras County. Amidst the search, a neighbor came forward saying she saw a man running away from her home. He matched Isiah's description. The police also confirmed finding relevant forensic evidence from the crime scene.
We did collect some fingerprints during that search, and we also collected what we believe to be DNA.
The detectives sent kitchen knives to the lab for DNA examination and proudly announced that they were slowly but surely tracking down the mystery creep. But at the same time, they said Isiah was a person of interest in the case.
I just want to thank the entire community and all of our family and friends for the overwhelming amount of support that you've given my family. It will never be forgotten.
Thousands of people united on the streets of Valley Springs to hold a vigil for Layla. Some took buses from different neighboring towns. Indeed, it was an overwhelming experience for the Fowler family. They had no idea just how much sympathy they would get.
It does not happen to a person you know, much less a child you know. And this cannot happen to a child in your very own class.
Still, this did little to fill the immense hole in their hearts, and it was made much worse by the fact that Isiah was a suspect. Barney, however, supported his son throughout the case. According to Barney, he would have known if his son did it the moment he stepped into their home that fateful day.
I was the first one in that house. I saw his demeanor. I've seen the way he carried himself the 2 weeks he was out after that. I don't think he did it.
As the days progressed, the police became more interested in convicting Isiah. That's when the police's relationship with the Fowler family took a downturn.
At the beginning, we were talking, we were cooperating, we were doing all the interrogations, all the interviews. We met them every time they wanted to. We would stop what we were doing, go talk to them. And then one day they decided that Isiah was a suspect and they would no longer talk to us.
However, there were strong clues pointing to another suspect. On May 1st, just a few days after Layla's murder, a 911 call was made in Placerville, an hour away from Valley Springs. A 44-year-old man named Jason Warren had attempted to kidnap a toddler after breaking into his single mom's apartment. The detectives got his DNA and compared it to the one found at the Fowler crime scene. Sadly, there was no match. 100 miles away in Yuba City, there were 2 more attempted kidnappings. 2 teenage girls reported a man with a spiky, balding hair driving a white Chevy truck, trying to kidnap them and put them in his truck. Luckily, they both managed to outrun him. Again, detectives looked into the suspect and concluded he wasn't related to the Leila Fowler case. Well, at least there was the neighbor's account of confirming Isiah's description, right? No. After that, she stopped cooperating with the police.
During the composite sketch meeting, the witness recanted her previous statements and her identification of the man she saw running away. She also refused to provide a description to the sketch artist so that a composite could be completed.
Why would she do this? The case was now at a standstill.
It's disappointing. I thought that we were on the right path. It's a setback, but I trust the Calaveras County Sheriff.
Scary. I mean, I'm not sure why somebody would make a statement like that.
Was she in cahoots with the attacker? Had the killer threatened her into silence, or was her initial account false to begin with? According to FBI profiler Candace DeLong, it could very well be either of the 2 scenarios. But if she was lying about seeing the attacker, where does that leave Isiah? Around this time, another neighbor contacted the police to tell them he hadn't seen anyone leave the Fowler house that day while the parents were away.
Nobody came out that door, plain and simple. I got a German wolf, 95 pounds. Every time somebody walks down that street, they start barking. When this all happened, there was no barks. Nothing.
On May 11th, the police released a statement. 12-year-old Isiah Fowler was arrested for murdering his 8-year-old sister. The community was shocked. No one could believe this little boy could do something so gruesome. Some people were even angry at the Fowlers. First, they'd been living in fear for the past month, believing there was a gray-haired child attacker living in the area. Dozens of people were out looking for this man, ringing the police with every little detail they thought could be a clue. Second, had Isiah's family been covering for him all along? The community felt betrayed. This is when Isiah and Layla's biological mother, Priscilla Rodriguez, came forward. She said there was no way Isiah could have hurt his little sister. She'd seen the love between those 2 with her own eyes. Isiah wouldn't be tried as an adult. He would only face a judge, no jury. But while he waited in juvenile prison, child therapists and other experts looked at Isiah's family history and discovered a murky situation. Barney had 7 children and was involved in child support battles with 4 different women. He'd even been arrested in 2009 for breaking into a storage unit. According to Barney, the owner of the unit owed him money, so he wanted to threaten them into paying him back. Not like that's a good reason for B&E. He served 3 days in jail and had to pay $300 in restitution. Priscilla had been cut out from the family after a series of serious substance abuse incidents. Barney would write, "I would like to clear up something my wife pointed out. Layla's biological mother was not allowed to see the kids because she was a drug addict. It had nothing to do with money. She stopped living with the kids when Layla was 1 and Isiah was 5. There are court documents." On May 14th, Isiah was charged with second-degree murder. That day, the 911 call Crystal made on the day of the murder was released to the public.
My children are at home alone, and a man just ran out of my house. My older son was in the bathroom, and my daughter started screaming. Okay. He came out, there was a man inside of my house. I need an officer there. The man is gone, though? They said he ran out, but they're very scared. I'm trying to... Of course.
Crystal had no idea Layla had been murdered yet. She just made the call based on what Isiah had told her, that there was a break-in. This was false. The detectives found no signs of a break-in. This only added to the picture that Isiah was guilty.
If he is found guilty, he will go free at the age of 23. And by the way, on that official paperwork that came in late this afternoon, we're told it is a second-degree murder charge with the special allegation of using a deadly and dangerous weapon.
Since the prosecution couldn't prove that Isiah lied during the investigation, the judge only charged him with second-degree murder. The prosecution did mention something interesting though. There is no evidence whatsoever to support Isiah's story. We know it's the murder weapon because the victim's blood was inside the handle. Layla's blood seeped into this knife. Why would the murder weapon be on the counter if an intruder did this? Why would an intruder clean it off? When would an intruder clean it off? That's right. Remember the kitchen knife that was sent to the lab for testing? Layla's blood was still inside the handle, but the killer had tried to clean it off. Also, the bathroom was much cleaner than the rest of the house, the place Isiah claimed he was when he heard his sister scream. So the prosecution's scenario was simple. Isiah murdered his sister, then rushed to the bathroom where he cleaned himself and the murder weapon off. Then he called his dad and told the intruder story. Isiah's defense attorney didn't insist that the intruder's story was true. The team rather painted Isiah as a scared, innocent teen who was confused and traumatized by losing his sister in such a gruesome way. Barney and the family continued to stand by Isiah and insist he was innocent. Isiah would be in juvenile jail for 2 years until a final verdict in October 2015. He was found guilty and sentenced to 16 years to life in prison at a youth correctional facility. As he was 12 years old though, he would have to be released when he turned 23. But this was far from the end of the case. As of 2023, there still isn't a clear answer to Isiah's guilt, and he is still in prison. In 2018, Isiah's verdict was overturned.
But today, a U.S. Court of Appeals overturned that conviction.
And concluded and ordered that a new trial must happen. They vacated the prior conviction, so there's currently no conviction against this young man. They hung their hat, or the big point in the opinion today was that the interviews of Isiah Fowler were absolutely blatantly unconstitutional.
According to Isiah's defense attorney, Isiah was coerced with manipulative interrogation tactics into making a very vague confession. It almost seemed like the police were desperate to make an arrest and found the easy way out.
He made a statement which was ambiguous at best, and that's when he was arrested. That's when he was tried, based on the statement, something along the lines of, I guess I did it, but I don't remember it if I did. He also said, before he was finished with that phrase, but I really didn't do it. His father hugged him and said, I know you didn't, son.
A private investigator also got involved in defending Isiah pro bono.
Anyone who has exposure to 12-year-olds can't believe that a 12-year-old could have miraculously cleaned a murder scene in less than 20 minutes.
In late 2020, PI John Kennedy and defense attorney Mark Reichel spoke to Haunted Autopsy about Isiah's case. They gave a full timeline of the events of April 27, 2013. After the Fowler parents left to go to the Little League game, Isiah called Crystal twice with questions about Layla. First, he said she had a headache, so Crystal told him to give her a Tylenol. Then he called his stepmom to ask what to do with Layla, as she was bored and didn't want to do anything. So Crystal suggested they watch a movie together. Just before 11 a.m., they sat down to watch How to Eat Fried Worms. It was Layla's favorite movie. Once it was over, Isiah put the movie back under the TV and went to the bathroom. That's when he heard the man banging on the walls and telling Layla he knew she was inside the room. Isiah came out of the bathroom, tried to chase the intruder, then hurried into Layla's bedroom. Seeing the horrific crime scene, he called his parents, who immediately hung up and came home. According to Mark, Isiah sounded very scared in the 911 call. When the police arrived at the scene, Layla was covered in blood, and so was her dad. However, there was no blood on Isiah, not one drop. Isiah also didn't have any cuts on his hands, and although he had no blood on his hands, he had dirt under his nails. This goes to show, in Mark's opinion, that Isiah didn't thoroughly clean his hands after the alleged murder. The defense team also claimed that although Layla's blood had been found inside the kitchen knife handle, the knife didn't match the stab wounds. Barney himself had told the defense team that he used to make a lot of money selling crystal meth to the Mexican mafia in the 2000s. He would make $500,000 every 6 months. and apparently he made most of this money by ripping them off. Their relationship slowly soured as the mafia started to understand what was happening, and so Barney felt forced to leave the area and start a new life in a different town. Bottom line, it would make sense if a Hispanic man broke into his home and murdered his daughter. It would be a tit for tat in the eyes of the cartels. All of these arguments seemed to point toward an acquittal, but Isiah's second trial was even worse. At the time of the Fowler's first conviction, as a minor, being tried as an adult, state law required he be released on his 23rd birthday. But on July 1st, the law changed, and Fowler now faces the prospect of being incarcerated until he is 25. Isiah even refused a plea deal, saying he can't accept responsibility for something he didn't do. The judge told Isiah, "There's no doubt you took the life of your sister. You did so viciously and used thought and planning. The victim was 8 years old and would have expected her big brother to protect her and not take her life." Isiah is now in prison at least until the age of 25, but to this day there are several things that don't add up about the case. First of all, why didn't the police find Isiah's bloody clothes if he stabbed his sister? Isiah wouldn't have had the time to wash his bloody clothes. If he did kill his sister, it means he quickly changed his bloody clothes before calling his parents, so where are they? Secondly, how could a 12-year-old clean a crime scene so impeccably? Thirdly, Isiah took a lie detector test and scored a perfect score. According to the experts, the chance of him lying during the test is 2 in 1,000. This would make him a psychopathic genius, considering his age. Also, a male hair was found on Layla's underwear. The police ran it through the lab, and it didn't belong to anyone in the family. They never matched it to anyone's DNA, but it sure seems like there was another person involved in the murder. As of 2023, Isiah's family still supports him and is outraged at how easily 2 judges dismissed his story and concluded he was guilty. His defense team is working on a second appeal, this time hoping to involve the Innocence Project, a nonprofit legal organization that works to exonerate wrongfully convicted people through the use of DNA testing. But will Layla's murder story ever be revealed? Or is justice that crooked? We can only hope that the truth will come out for the sake of a family who has suffered enough. Thanks for watching, you guys. What are your thoughts on this tragic case? Let me know in a comment, and before you leave, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time.